we go.
Great.
Well, good evening, Sugar by Half, and welcome. My name is Daniel Villada, and tonight we are joined by Tracy McBeath, who is an outstanding health coach. Tracy, thank you for your time this evening. And before we get into your journey, can you tell us what a health coach is?
Sure, Daniel. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really honoured to be chatting to everyone at Sugar by Half tonight. So what does a health coach do? I guess there's probably varied, definitions of what a health coach does. I guess I can talk about what I do. My job really is to put my clients back in the driver's seat of their health journey. So often we feel like we're in the back seat being guided by something not ourselves. So my job is to really empower my clients to take control of their health and to sit in the driver's seat of their lives again when it comes to their health. And, I don't tell any of my clients what to do. That's not a job of a health coach. The job of a health coach is to put all the cards on the table and really walk beside my clients while they make the choices that they need to make to get where they want to get with their health and their lives.
Perfect. So it's more of a guidance where you, as you said, they're putting the cards in place and putting things in place to help people succeed and achieve those goals.
That's it.
Yeah, excellent. Can you tell us about your journey and how you became a health coach and why that field has been a great interest of yours and how you've been so successful?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was a personal trainer for many, many years. After when I was about 30, I had a bit of a career change. I had 3 kids then, and I'd moved from Sydney to Melbourne and was in HR before that, but had left for too long, so I didn't go back into all of that. And I loved running. I loved exercise, so I became a personal trainer, and I did that for about 12 years in and around having my kids. And it was when I turned 40. So I was 47 a couple of days ago. When I turned 40, things just stopped working for me. So I couldn't lose the baby weight. I was tired all the time. I just felt pretty much like I was dragging my feet through sludge every day just to do what it took to look after my kids and function. And I figured I wasn't doing something right, basically. And it led me down a bit of a health investigation. And I was actually a client gave me David Gillespie's book on sweet poison. So that was the first book I read that opened my eyes to how what we eat can affect how we feel. From there it was Tim Noakes. We found, my husband and I, we were both on this together. So we found him, and I guess we discovered the other side of nutrition and came to look at it from a perspective of prevention and cure that is different from the calories in, calories out model that I guess I'd lived and breathed up until I was 40. So because of what I saw and how my life changed and how it turned my own health around, I realized that I could really make much more of a difference getting into the health coaching field. I had to really just share what I'd seen with as many people as I could. And, I haven't looked back. Absolutely love what I do.
Fantastic. So you've mentioned some big names there. Tim Noakes, I'm sure everyone has heard of Tim Noakes and the fantastic work that he's done with the low carb, healthy fat lifestyle and all the things that he's gone through. David Gillespie also you've mentioned there with his great book as well. You mentioned your kids. You've got 5 kids. So that's tremendous effort for what you're doing. And as you mentioned there with getting onto the more energy. So we'll get a bit more into that a bit later on. But just what are the most common questions and scenarios that you assist clients with? So you said at the start about helping them throughout their journey and achieve their goals. Yeah. What would be the most common questions and scenarios?
Well, thinking about this before, and I think there's 2 common scenarios now. So when I first started, there would probably be 1 common scenario, and this is the scenario that breaks my heart the most. And these are the people that I want to help the most. So it's a typical female. Most of my clients are female. I do work with men as well. I do have a few male clients, but predominantly it's female clients. They're in their 40s to 50s. They've been dieting their whole life since they were teenagers. They're miserable. They're overweight. They can't figure it out. They don't understand why this area of their life is such a mystery and such a hard puzzle for them to solve when they have every other a part of their life is just sort of going fine and functioning fine. But for this one, it just stumps them. And that's predominantly the scenario that I see. So most women will come to me for weight loss initially, but of course end up getting so much more than that out of what we do together. And then the other scenario that I've seen in the last couple of years, because I've been in this, personally for 7 years now, but teaching for nearly, 4.5 years, I think I've been doing the health coaching. But the last couple of years, I've started to see people who really understand the low carb lifestyle, have been trying to do it, but just haven't been able to get the results that they want to get. So it might be that they just cannot break the habits that they have around food and carbs, or they just don't know what it is. They don't know what they're doing wrong. So they come to me, with all the knowledge in the world, all the science, that understand it probably better than I do. They can teach anybody that side of things. But again, they just don't know and can't figure out why they can't make the changes and get to where they want to be.
Yeah, so they come with you, as you said, they're with knowledge, but you're, I guess, there to guide them and put steps in place for them to achieve those goals.
That's right. That's right. It's different, like the coach is, it's not your cheerleader and it's not your friend. Very, very different. Like I have to put my friend hat on and my coach hat on, depending on who I'm speaking to, because a friend will, sit with you and, commiserate and that's really, I can see that I, really empathize. Now, it's not like I don't empathize with my clients, but I see their potential. So a coach, sits up in this area where they can see exactly what that client's potential is and, what's getting in the road and really light up that path for them so they can have that confidence and courage to take that first step. So it is really, it's a really important role of, everyone in the US virtually has a coach. Aussies are very different. We're a little bit more stoic. We don't kind of like to get as, it's just not a really as big here, but it's definitely growing. And I think, when people, we can't see what we can't see. And that's kind of, there's always blind spots, in our own lives and in our own eyes. And that's what a coach has a lot of clarity and vision around helping their clients, remove those blind spots and see exactly what it is that's getting in their road. So, yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Why have you chosen a low carb and healthy fat lifestyle?
Because I feel amazing. So, yeah, I mean, the feeling is, once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. Once you've tried it and you've really given it the time that it needs to feel the benefits and your hormones are rebalanced and, you're metabolically well again, you just, feel so good. I mean, there is absolutely no way I would go back to eating the dietary guidelines or what I was eating up until I was 40, thinking I was eating healthy, but it obviously wasn't doing the right thing for me. But I think too, this is what we're designed to eat as human beings. I mean, we understand with any species, if you feed anything what it's not evolved to eat, what its gut doesn't handle, it will get sick. And I think in a lot of ways that we are eating predominantly a diet that is not what we're designed to eat, not what we evolved on. Too much sugar, too much processed food, processed vegetables, things like that. And that is what, is getting in the way of the health of so many people. So that's why I live and breathe an LCHF, and it's a lifestyle. It's not a diet. It's a lifestyle. So, yeah.
Yeah, a couple of things I like there. You said, it is a lifestyle. It's not a diet. It's not just a one-off thing and a thing to stick by. I like how you said as well, just to remove the sugars, those processed foods and the vegetable oils and try and stick with real food. So all really good tips there. And once, as you said, once people can get over the obstacles, it is pretty easy to accomplish if they put their mind to it and work with someone like yourself as well. What does a typical eating day look like for you?
Well, I saw this question and I guess it's very, very different recently. So I won't go into too much, but I guess I'll just let you know that it's evolved. So over the last 7 years, what I eat in any given day has evolved dramatically, and that's how it should do. You know, we're not going to eat the same thing when we first start as opposed to something that we, you know, like 2 or 3 years into it. You know, we evolve as our body changes and our body's needs change, and that's really exciting. And that's happened for me absolutely over the last 7 years. You know, I actually only about a week ago, I was actually diagnosed with Hashimoto's, which is an autoimmune condition that has been brewing for the last 21 years. You know, my mum has it. I kind of didn't make the connection there that I should probably have gotten tested for it a lot earlier, but that's all come out. And at the moment, I'm actually doing a carnivore healing diet. So my diet, what I eat on a plate, looks very, very different as today than it did even 3 weeks ago. So just to put that in perspective, because I know there'll be people watching that have been watching my journey in terms of, you know, I'm sharing about what I'm learning, what I'm seeing, and all that sort of stuff, because I think, you know, I'm just very curious around health, and I don't think we ever get to a point where we think we know everything. And I think we need to just remain curious and open-minded as to what we might want to try for our journey. But prior to that, it was very typical. I thought typical anyway. I would have a coffee with some cream in the morning. I love my coffee. And I would do some training. So I'd train probably 5 times a week in the morning, always fasted. Now, of course, I've built up to that. So, you know, that's not something I would have done straight away. But I do fasted training now. And then I will have my first meal at around midday. And that would be typically beautiful amount of animal protein and some fat, some nice healthy animal fat, eggs, you know, some bacon, maybe some salmon, something like that. That would be my first meal. And then I would eat again at dinner time. And that would be, you know, a family meal, you know, typical meat and veg, very boring. Then or some salad or something like that. And then I love my dark chocolate. So I would always have dark chocolate after dinner as well with a cup of tea. And then if I bake for the kids as well. So I would have had a keto cookie or something like that, and some berries and cream and stuff like that. So that would have been my typical day, you know, up until about 3 weeks ago when I had to cut quite a few of those. Well, actually, the interesting thing is I actually intuitively went down that path because I was curious. And I've got a couple of clients that have been put on it by their doctor, and I wanted to support them and just go along with them. And so I'd already done cut out the veggies and the dark chocolate and the snacks, the keto snacks. And but then once I was diagnosed, I'm working with a lady and I've had to take out eggs and dairy for the moment, but then, you know, we'll look at once my gut's hopefully healed, because that's what autoimmune is. It's an issue that stems from the gut. So we'll look at introducing some of those things back in again, you know, down the track. So yeah, it's evolved.
Yeah, I like how you said there as well, you know, always learning and always evolving. I think that's quite powerful as well. And being open-minded is another strategy that you mentioned, which is quite important, you know, for us to always consider. What are some of the services that you offer, you know, with your coaching?
Yeah, so obviously I do one-on-one coaching. I have just one-off, you know, people sometimes they just want a quick session just to be, you know, they just need a few tweaks here and there. I've got a big 3-month coaching session where people can, you know, I really take them through the whole, I call it the peaceful body formula. So it really is a 3-month coach in your pocket to really transform your health and look at all the things that get in the way of change. I've got online programs too. Not everybody wants face-to-face coaching. So I've written, you know, like a 30 days to LCHF Your Way, which is basically my 3-month program in an online 30-day version. So it kind of covers everything. Obviously, it's not individualized because it can't do that in an online program, but there is a lot of information there that people can really take and incorporate into their own journey. And I have an online support group. And I also run with Dr. Jackie Montefiore, who's a low-carb GP in Brisbane. So I'm in Melbourne, she's in Brisbane. But we run an online group called the Sante Circle, which is a low-carb lifestyle change program that she created and asked me to do some coaching in. So I help her with the coaching with the people in that group. So yeah, lots of different things depending on what people need, and different price points as well, because not everyone has a lot of money for coaching. So yeah, I try and offer things that fit people's budgets as well.
Yeah, fantastic. So plenty of options there for people to look into, as you said. A one-off session just to get started and tweak a few things, or an ongoing packages as well, and online help. What are some of the common challenges you have discovered that people are faced with?
Yeah, look, I think by far the biggest challenge is, these habitual behavior patterns that we innocently create living the life that we do. So whether it's we're linking certain foods with comfort, or, we've learnt to lean on certain foods when we're feeling stressed or feeling emotional, things like that. I think we innocently have done that. I had done that. I had to, unlearn a lot of that as well, and make different connections with certain feelings as well. But that is definitely the biggest challenge that I find with the clients that I have. And certainly, probably, yeah, most of my clients, well, I would say all of my clients would end up having some things, like that we would look at. And, it's such an interesting area, because I think we come to that conclusion that we can't change because we lack willpower, or we're not disciplined, or we're lazy, or whatever, words we want to put around it. But I guess I come from a very different place. So I come from a place of, there's actually, you're not lazy, you're not those things, but we have just created innocently these habits that are very, very hard to see a choice when they are, the brain is sending that to us. It's 5 o'clock. So for me, for many years, 5 o'clock, wine time. And there was no way I could see I had a choice in that until someone told me that I actually did. And I could see that, yes, the brain's going to send these signals and tell us, to me to drink that wine. But at the end of the day, I do have a choice as to whether I want to actually have that wine. And it may be very uncomfortable to sit in that and to create new attachments with different things instead of food, but it's definitely possible. And that's the most, I guess, that's what I love the most about the work that I do, because there is so much potential to see change. And ultimately, change can only happen when we have new thoughts around things. So if we continue to believe that, we must have this food, when we feel this way, then it's going to be very, very difficult to see that we have another choice in that moment. But it's all possible. It's absolutely possible. So that would be the biggest one. Other ones include, I see people all the time trying to just take on what other people have done. So they will just follow let's see someone that's gotten where they want to be, and right, I'm just going to do exactly what that person has done. So they, certainly over the last 7 years, there's a lot more diet mentality in this space than there was 7 years ago. There's a lot of people selling potions, lotions, and quick fixes, and jumping on that bandwagon, if you like. And I think a lot of people, they do still bring that across and want the quick fix, and want to just someone to tell them what to do. But usually that doesn't work. So that's another thing. And yeah, I think also that, we touched on this before, not staying curious and evolving. I think staying curious and evolving is essential. And, it's just actually so exciting to think that your body's, metabolism can change and heal. And, you will get to a point where your body will tell you when you might need a bit of extra protein, or maybe it's time to change this around or change this around. There's so much freedom that comes with all of that when we do stay really curious and not think that we know everything or get dogmatic in our approach, because I don't think that's very helpful at all to have a very dogmatic approach. So there's there's lots more, but they were they're the biggest ones I see out there in terms of challenges that people do face when they want to change their lifestyle.
Great to hear how you feel it's very rewarding when you're able to change those people with the challenges. And I can relate to that. I mean, I'm a school teacher, and it is when you get the students to, get on board with what you've been trying to coach them through, it is quite rewarding. I can see that coming through you as well with your clients. So well done on the great work that you're doing there. As we mentioned, and you just mentioned it there as well, it's more about of a lifestyle and not those quick fixes. So why do you think dieting, restricting, and counting calories fail?
Well, I think it's actually one of the worst pieces of advice that we've ever really inflicted on people, particularly women. There's so many reasons why it doesn't work and why it does fail. At the end of the day, hunger will always win. There's such a misconception out there that, if we're not feeling hungry, we're not losing weight. But, with what goes on in the body when we restrict and we don't give it what it needs, we can't win against that. It is just so powerful. And the drive to stay alive is so strong in our body. So when we restrict our food, we restrict our intake, our metabolism changes so that we stay alive. It's very smart. It's very clever. We can't compete with that. It's miserable. I think, there's so much about it that just, it doesn't work. It doesn't address the complex interplay of hormonal, issues that we have going on, the metabolic hormones. They're tightly controlled in the body. And when they don't work properly, of course, insulin being the king, the queen, the big hormone, when that's out of whack, there's such a cascade of effects that go on in the body that the calories in, calories out model is just completely disregards all of that. So the beauty about this lifestyle, and this is what I guess I'd love people to see, is that it is the chance to really end dieting, restricting forever. You get your body, you fuel your body with the nutrients that it needs, you give it what it needs, and it will tell you when you're hungry and when you're full, and those hormones will rebalance and you never have to diet again. It's just, that's the potential. Of course, that doesn't happen overnight. You have to give that time, and it took me a couple of years, I think, to find my groove with it. And then, of course, look where I am today. That's changed again just in the last few weeks. So there's just so much freedom that can come from calorie restricting, dieting, and counting. That's the beauty of it. And I think the other thing too is that it keeps you obsessed with food. I mean, how much of my life I wasted up until I was 40 thinking about food. How much was I eating enough? Was I not eating enough? Was I eating too much of that? Was I eating, oh my goodness, it was just obsessive. And that space in my head is now gone and can be filled up with so many other amazing things that go on in life instead of worrying about how many calories we're consuming in a day. So, yeah, I hope that.
Very good answer. I like how you mentioned there, it's not as simple as calories in and calories out. And, we have this argument quite often where you can't argue that, 100 calories from broccoli is the same as 100 calories from lollies. And as you mentioned, nutrients and having heaps of nutrients within our body, there's complete difference there. So very important and an excellent message that you're spreading, with that message. So well done with that. You have a podcast which is called The Health Evolution. Are you able to tell us a bit about that and where people can find that?
Yeah, so it's the Health Evolution podcast. I started it over 18 months ago now, and I'm so glad I did. I guess I was sitting in this space quite on my own because I do work on my own, and I really wanted to build some relationships. And it just occurred to me, as great ideas do, they just occur to you, that I should start a podcast. And did I know how to do a podcast? Absolutely not. But Google is amazing. So I sat on YouTube and taught myself and downloaded the software and bought the speaker and everything I needed off eBay, and just sat in my lounge room or my kids' rooms when they went there, and tentatively just reached out to people who I thought might be interested in chatting to me. And it's been the most amazing thing that I have ever done. I have been so grateful to build so many great relationships with women and people all around the world. And people love telling their story, and that's what it's about. It's a platform to share hope and possibilities and life-changing stories. So when we hear somebody's story, we temporarily, I guess, stop thinking about our own situation and story, and then it offers a chance to see something new there. So we might see something just purely by listening to what somebody else has done, and you know, that's why I started the podcast. It's grown to from that I was able to do a big summit a couple of months ago. It was the first all-female low-carb lifestyle long weekend over 3 days, and I had over 30 amazing female practitioners talking about women's health in the low-carb space. It was the highlight of my career to organise, and you know, I just had so much support, and everyone was so excited to be involved in it, and it was really fantastic. It was all virtual, and the idea came before COVID, but it just so happened that it was the perfect time to offer, you know, something like that. We got in before everybody else did, and and it was fantastic. So that was all because of my podcast, because I had built relationships with people, and I could reach out and say, hey, you keen to be involved? And yep. And so yeah, so the podcast is fantastic. Health Evolution. It's also on YouTube, so please, you know, have a look. I did recently chat to Dr. James Mukey, the Australian of the Year, which was a fantastic chat. And he, you know, we all need to get behind him and what he's doing this year and support him as much as he can, because he's got great ideas, and he knows really wants to push for change. And this could be our big chance to really help, you know, get the guidelines changed. So
yeah, congratulations on the summer. That's fantastic. I didn't know that, so well done.
Oh, didn't you?
James Mukey, I did listen to that the other day, and as you said, 100%, he's doing a fantastic job, and I 100% back you there, and please get behind him and support him as much as possible. Just our final question for tonight, Tracy. If you could give out one piece of advice for all of us to lead healthier lifestyles, what would that one piece of advice be?
Do I have to only give one? Because I've got a couple, just from different perspectives. So I thought I'd give a practical tip and then just a more holistic tip, because I think there's, you know, you've got to look in both directions to really change your health. So the practical tip would be to take small steps. You know, we often get so overwhelmed with the information that's out there, and I can understand that. Having just with my Hashimoto's, I experienced that again. You know, people throw information at you, and they're very, very well-meaning. Everyone has a different opinion. Everyone says, try this person, and it can get very, very overwhelming. So I would say focus on a couple of people, find a few people that you trust and listen to them, but take small steps. You don't have to climb the mountain in one day. You know, don't think too far ahead. Don't look up the whole staircase. Just take one step and focus on the best advice I could give is just change breakfast. If that first meal you eat was real food and you saw how that made you feel throughout the day, how much longer you could go before you got hungry again, it would be the start of more changes. So please, you know, throw the breakfast cereal away. There is no nutrition in them. There is nothing in it that's going to fill you up. It just sends you on that roller coaster of blood sugar. So I would start, you know, make eggs. Eggs are so quick. They're so easy. They're so nutrient dense. It takes 2 minutes to fry a couple of eggs. And also for your kids, I mean, yeah, I've got 5 kids. I know how hard it is to feed a family. But when you take the time to think about it, to plan it, it doesn't have to be that hard. And you're going to be filling them up with far more nutrition if it's real food over breakfast cereal. So that's my practical one. And then my second one is, I guess, talking about the motivation myth. So I guess we often sit still waiting for this magic feeling of motivation to hit us before we take steps forward. But it really is a myth. Motivation is very temporary. So we might be waiting for that feeling, or we might start something really motivated and then 2 weeks later, that feeling's gone and we don't know what to do. Well, the thing to see from that, it is absolutely a myth, and you actually can move forward and do whatever you like, regardless of how you're feeling. So you don't need to sit and wait for some magical feeling to move forward. We as human beings have the capacity to move forward at any time that we choose. So it's seeing that we have that within us. We all do. And that's, I guess one of the big things I show my clients as a coach, like anything is possible. We know there's no magical feeling that we have to wait for. We can take that step. And it's the same when we're feeling off track. So many people I know are struggling through COVID, and, we're in Melbourne, we get it. And I know people have, gone off track with their eating. But the thing with that is that you at any time can make the choice to turn it around again. And that just comes with making one choice, one decision in one day. So whatever you did yesterday, whatever you did for the last 3 months, that doesn't matter. All that matters is the choices that you make today. And you are free to make any choice that you like when you see that you can do that.
Perfect. So 2 great things there. You said stick to real food where possible, especially for breakfast as well. And anything is possible with motivation once we can make those right choices and see clearly. Tracy, where can people follow you and get information from if they would like further information from tonight?
Sure. Well, I'm pretty active on social media. I love it. So I am on Facebook, Tracy McBeath Health Coach, and I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm on everything, really. I'm not on Twitter. I got off Twitter. It wasn't for me, but and my website, tracymcbeath.com.au. There's lots of information on there as well. But yeah, please, I'm more than happy to help people. I have a private Facebook group that people can join, or even just my page. If you have questions, feel free to ask, and I'll certainly do what I can to direct you and give you some guidance if that's what you need. So yeah.
Excellent. So just a couple of comments here from the listeners. So we've got leafy.org saying peaceful feeling sounds perfect. So thank you very much for that. Lucy Burns says, loving this. Kelly says, Tracy's 30 days to low carb, healthy fat online program is excellent. Such a perfect step-by-step program to fully understand the low carb, healthy fat lifestyle. So thank you very much, Kelly. Darren says you're doing a fantastic job. Paulina's very happy and lots of claps there and asking to repost to share. And we have Kate as well saying, I did my first podcast interview with Tracy and she was amazing. And some practical advice given as well. So thank you very much to the listeners for your comments. Tracy, thank you so much for your time. Very much appreciated, and all the advice you've given has been excellent. So we really appreciate your time, and thank you for joining us on Sugar by Half.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you.